Okay. My sister says, okie doke. Here we are. Make your brand via the Make It Club. This is the Make Your Brand Sprint in week 3. This by the end of this class, we will be officially 50% of the way through the course. I don't know if that scares you or not. It should not. But anyway. All right. So I got to make my joke again before we dive in. The washrooms are located in the safety of your own home, perhaps upstairs or just down the hall. This is a safe space. I don't believe in stupid questions. Please ask away. Raise your hand in the chat, whatever works for you. We are recording, so hello if you are watching on the replay. Hang on 1 second, folks. My phone is ringing, and I think it's Bernadette trying to get in. It is. Hold on a second. Because I'd like to see her in here today. All right. It's a bit painful. I have to type it in because I don't want to get my screens all mixed up here. But actually, sorry, folks. Just give me a sec. I want to make sure she gets in. I was looking for her email because I knew from last week it was a bit rough. All right, we got the link. Copy this. Okay, hopefully Bernadette can join us. Great. We are recording. The handouts, you have the biggest handout already, which is the Make Your Branding Toolkit in Canva. And I believe looks like everybody has access to that. Belinda, did you get access to that?
Yeah, I did through Canva. Thanks.
You got it. Perfect. Okay. All right. So week 3, we're halfway there. Today, the format's going to be the same as the other weeks. First, I'm going to explain some concepts about branding fonts. Then you're going to get time to make it and start down the rabbit hole of choosing your fonts. And then there'll be time at the end that I can give you some feedback. Okay, let's jump into the presentation. Okay, so similar to choosing colors, there is a 3-step process to choosing your fonts. The goal is to choose 2 fonts, and from those 2 fonts that are going to appear in your logo, we are going to define 3 font styles. And I'm going to tell you what that means in a few minutes. We want these fonts to communicate well, look good, and be usable in the places that you create things. So the first step in the process is a font feelings match. Sounds very similar to color, so we're going to use font psychology to help communicate what we want to say. Then once we've chosen those, we're going to define the font styles. And then we're also doing a font usability check. So again, excuse me, I want to make sure that you're going to be able to use them once you pick all your pretty fonts. Okay, so the first, sorry, I'm just slightly concerned that Bernadette hasn't joined us yet. Okay, I sent it to her, no problems. Okay, the first step is a font feelings match. So you'll see in your Canva brand kit that Um, I have a page for you. This is on page 8. Um, much like the other pages in your brand kit, and this has to do with the question that you asked Natalia earlier. You were asking about, like, what do I do with this page? Do I have to fill it out? No. By the end, some of these pages you can move to the end or delete entirely if you like. I created this so that it was helpful along the whole way. But if you want to create sort of a final fancy version of this, you could create a copy and delete some of the pages, or, it's really up to you how you organize it. So I left you a page where you're going to put in your final information, but I also left you a page here where we can talk about font feelings. So there are major font types. So the first font type is what's called a serif font. I don't know if you've ever heard that term before, maybe. Yeah, Meg, you probably have. Serif means that it has little feet on the bottom of all the letters going across. It was the first type of font that was ever created. So if you think about the first printing press, Gutenberg's printing press, don't ask me the year. I don't know. I don't remember. Way back when, they literally manually had each letter carved and lined up the letters and then printed like this with the press. And those fonts were serif fonts. So they have been around literally as long as the printing press has been around. The feelings that we get when we use these kind of fonts could be straightforward, like you're reading a fiction chapter book. There could be serif font there. It's very traditional, again, because it has a historic value. It could mean luxury. Luxury fonts have letters that can have like mixed weights to them, or like, if you think of like the Louis Vuitton is a serif font, that kind of thing. The next, so this chart, the way to read it is you have types of fonts at the top, and then obviously not a exhaustive list, but a list of types of feelings that using these types of fonts will achieve. There's probably a simpler way to say that. So sans serif literally means without a serif. So it just means very like straightforward, like very, I say straightforward, but like very clean fonts without any feet. So they can look very cost effective. It can look very just, middle of the road. It can look very no nonsense. Modern fonts exist. A lot of them are sans serif, where each letter is completely different from the others. So if you're looking to get a super modern feeling, you might try looking in the sans serif category. Then we have handwriting fonts. Handwriting, depending on the specific font you choose, can look approachable, like actual, hey, I'm leaving you a note. There's a lot of that in my slides here. It could look chic. If you saw this chic restaurant in Paris, you'd be like, yes, that looks very chic. If you saw this homemade font on a jar of jam, it would make sense. You'd be like, yeah, kind of looks like my grandmother put it there. Scripty fonts are formal, sophisticated. They can be romantic and feminine. If you saw any of these on a wedding invitation, they would make sense. And then we have some brush fonts. They can be creative or casual or urban, like depending on which one of them you choose. So you'll notice that these types, serif, sans serif, handwriting, script, brush, are available in Canva. If I pick a piece of text here, you'll see handwriting, sans serif, modern, like you'll see that they are there. And so if I just choose handwriting here, you'll see that there is a ton of different handwriting fonts available. Anybody have any questions about fonts and feelings? There is a little bit of further reading. I will give you, this is also, I think, in your brand kit, but if there's Canva has a great article about that. If you want to learn more about a specific font type and the psychology behind it. So, and I just left an example too of my logo where I have this sans serif P and P, no nonsense. But then there's also this like little handwriting approachable thing. Okay, so here's a couple of examples. Coca-Cola, handwriting font, very approachable. You know, they want everybody to drink Coke. PayPal has a sans serif font here. No nonsense, like we're going to handle your money. It's going to be, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it very seriously. Yeah, anyone have any questions about the font feelings sample? Okay. Okay, so the idea is to pick two fonts that contrast enough with each other that accurately portray the feelings you want. You may want serif and a sans serif. Sorry, that's Bernadette popping in. So you may want, you may want a serif and a sans serif. It was funny because when I first went to graphic design school 25 years ago, I was told serif and sans serif are not allowed to be mixed. Not allowed at all. But now it's a completely different landscape. So there we go. Bernadette has joined us. So you may want a sans serif or a serif. You may want a serif font, a sans serif font and a handwriting font. You know, really depending on, you might, if your organization is a bit artistic, you might want a brush stroke font. You know, there's lots of different choices, but the idea is to pick two. And once you have those two, we want to decide a style. It's like a mini style guide for how you are going to use them. So I want everyone to take a minute and look at this image on the screen. And let me know with like a thumbs up or something. Did it track for you? Did you read? You will read this first. Everybody did. Okay, great. So the reason that happened is because it is the biggest and the boldest piece of text on the screen. So you will read this first, is your headline, and then you will read this is the second piece of information you read, then this one, and then you will read this last because it's tiny and up at the top. So when we're designing things, and honestly, this is a whole other course, but I want to touch on it because it matters when you're making these choices for fonts. So when you're designing, you want to decide, okay, what is the most important piece of information in this design? If it is a website, let's say you're doing your website hero section and you have the 3 or 4 words there on your website that when people land there, they are reading that first. So what does that look like? We want it to achieve brand cohesion across all of our channels. We want what those words look like to match on a social media post the most important words on that. What do those look like? So we want those to be in the exact same fonts. And you have different types of text on different things like websites, social media, even your business card, right? And it's going to be different content, but the purpose is the same. what do you want people to read first? And what do we want that to look like across all of our channels? So we're going to choose a style, a specific font, and whether it's bold or italic or whatever it is for the headline, your most important piece. And then also for your sub headline, what's the next most important piece of information? People are sticking around, what are they reading and what does that look like? And then regular is all of your body text. You know, if you're on your website or social post or whatever it is, what does that all look like? Tina, do you have a question?
Yes.
Yes.
So, as in this example, they all have to be the same one font, just different sizes?
They do not.
Oh, okay.
They
All
do
right.
not. They do not. Depending on which fonts you choose, you may also additionally have an accent font. If you choose a handwriting font, it's probably going to have to be like, it won't be regular text because you can't read it. If you make handwriting like 12-point font across your website, like people won't be able to read it. It's going to have to be an accent. It could be a headline, depending. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does everybody understand this concept of visual hierarchy? I know, like, it may be completely brand new. Okay, perfect. This takes a while to master in your designs. A lot of people start designing and they just make all the text all the same size because they're like, everything is equally important. But then I challenge them and they don't like it. Because when you're scrolling through social media, it's like, what's the one, if people don't stop, if they don't stop scrolling, you know, what's the one bit that you want them to take away? That's the most important thing. And then you're kind of spoon feeding information to people. What's the first thing? That's your headline. What's the next thing? Subheadline, and then regular text. You keep going. Okay. So the third part of choosing the fonts, we're going to go back to class number 1. I don't know if any of you wrote it down. Hopefully, tucked it away. Excuse me. The first kind of exercise in class number 1, I had asked everybody to write down a list of touch points that you were having with all of your clients. So is it a website? Is it a business card? Is it signage? Is it a t-shirt? Is it a product label? What is it? I'd like you to reference that list and write down again, where am I creating these things? Which website editor am I using? Am I using Canva? Am I using Google? Am I using like Microsoft? Where am I creating like even my invoices for people? Where is that happening? The goal again is cohesiveness across everything. And if you pick a font that is not available in all of those places, you're going to find it really difficult to be the same across. So take maybe 2 minutes and come up with a list of places that you need to use these fonts. Bernadette, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry. Because I see your hand raised, but okay, that's fine. I know sometimes like you have to click it to put it down. I think maybe that was just from earlier. Okay, perfect. There we go. I see a lot of furrowed brows. It's concentrating really hard. Does anybody want to share their list? Oh,
Okay,
Tina.
so, yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So things like if we write like if we respond to a comment, because I don't know what else to call it, like when you post on Instagram, there's the part where you can type things. Those
Yeah.
are like font agnostic, right? Like we have
Yeah.
no choice and even on LinkedIn when you write, right? So I don't have
Yeah.
to worry about that. Okay, all
Correct.
right.
Yeah. Phew.
One less thing to worry
You're
about.
taking down deep. I like it.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll share because I guess mine makes it simple. Well, not simple, that shortens it. So the fonts for me are on the website. My app right now is a web app. So again, website. And then social media content, but like when I make the visual post, not the writing thing about whatever, right? So whether I use Canva or something else. So, and that's going to be posted on like Instagram and LinkedIn. But again, that's like upload image, video,
Yeah.
something. That's
So
not
where are you making them? Are you making everything in Canva or are you making it somewhere else?
right now. I'm making it in PowerPoint because I'm still exploring, is this what I want?
Right.
And I'm more familiar with that. Later, I may move to Canva, but we'll see.
Sure. So Microsoft, like Microsoft
Office, yeah.
products is on your list. And
Yeah.
what's your website editor? Do you have one yet?
Like, is that, you mean WordPress?
Yeah.
Okay, that, yeah. So WordPress with an Elementor plugin, if that makes it even more special. Okay.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, and sorry, I had eventually down the road email responses. So if a customer info at whatever, again, because that's not standard, maybe the email font. But yeah.
Yeah, email newsletter, like that's a big one too, right? Like if you're going to have a newsletter and if you're using Kit or Constant Contact or whichever one you're using, MailChimp.
Right now it's Gmail because
Yeah.
it's happening.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, if you're doing an email newsletter, you're going to want to be able to make sure that your font is in there or uploadable. How's everyone else doing with that list? Did it surprise you? Belinda.
I can share mine. I think
Sure.
it's fairly similar to Tina's in some ways. So I've got my website, which has an integrated LMS, and that's a WordPress platform as well. Then my newsletter is through Substack, which has the ability again to sort of customize your font settings. And then the promotional materials would be LinkedIn, Facebook, and all of those are created through Canva currently.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so is that making sense to everybody? Okay, so this is where the presentation ends, and we're going to spend some time making it. So if you're on the replay, see you next time.